the thing about the coach in terms of what he told me, he said you could be a Division I athlete, and he said it with so much passion. I didn't even understand what it was, but I knew that it was something more than what I had, and so I took the opportunity to play basketball, and that really was the start for me to really turn my life around because it gave me something to lose. It was the first time in my life that someone stepped into my life and actually told me that I had the potential to do something great or something positive or
Hi, Keith. Welcome.
hi, how you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm amazing.
Thank you so much for saying yes to being on the Break Time with Patty show. I'm extremely excited.
Absolutely, me too.
Dear friends at home, let me introduce Keith to you. I hope you're sitting down. Brace yourself. Keith is an entrepreneur, a catalyst, and a master storyteller. He is the host of the Real Talk podcast. He is the author of the book, Breakthrough Mentality, The Right Mindset Sets You Free. He is the founder of the Breakthrough University, which provides entrepreneurs with tools to design their personal story, desired outcomes, and a roadmap for achieving their wildest dreams. He is also the founder of PaySuite, which is a payment consulting company that provides entrepreneurs, software companies, and business associations with the tools to easily manage payments and grow revenue, and the founder of Calixte Training and Development that provides professional education and training that helps athletes build the strategic plans they need to achieve success during and beyond their sports career. I'm coming to an end, but I just wanted to get the full picture here. When he's not working, Keith can be found at the beach with his family or pursuing certifications and education to better serve his clients and community. Okay, I think you get a sense of what Keith does. He does a lot. Let's dive right in. Keith, can you tell us about young Keith and what it was like to be in his sneakers growing up? Mike is yours.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Fresno, California, where I was born and raised. I was raised up until the first grade by a single mom who worked at TGI Fridays during the day and in the evening, and then she also threw newspapers early in the morning while she was getting her real estate license. So what I didn't know about my mom at that time is that while she was pregnant, she would walk for 2-3 miles just to get to the bus stop so that she could get to work. And growing up with a single mom, as many people might out there that are listening, you don't know that you're struggling necessarily. All you see is a hardworking mother, and my mother set the pathway during that period of time for what work ethic would look like for me, right? And so what it was like growing up during that period of time, especially after I got a stepdad came into my mom's life. We didn't have the best relationship. So in the 4th grade, going into the 5th grade, Child Protective Services took me from my mom and my stepfather. And I went and custody was given to my dad, who actually was battling addiction and battling mental health issues. I don't know if the state knew about it to the depths that it was, but it wasn't necessarily a better situation. It was just a very difficult situation that I went into. And, for the next, I would say, 3 years, I lived with my dad from the 5th grade through the 8th grade. And so during that period of time, I was exposed to everything you can imagine, from, drugs and prostitution and drug dealers, knowing them on a first name basis, being at the drug house at an early age. And when I look back on that time, it's still one of the greatest periods of my life. I was talking to my father about it the other night because I remember what it was like to not have my dad in my life. And so I really enjoyed, as difficult as the period of time was and all the things that I saw and the things I got exposed to that I shouldn't have seen or I shouldn't have experienced as a fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grader, I still look back on that time with so much joy and love because I got to be with my dad, regardless of what his existence was, regardless of what his capabilities were, regardless of what his mental health status was, regardless of what his status was when it came to drugs and the different people that I met as a result of that. I still look back on that time as the greatest period of my life because I got to have that experience and that connection with my father. And so during that period of time, I got expelled 6 times. I got expelled again my freshman year in high school. I had a 1.3 GPA in high school. My freshman year, I got kicked off campus as well. And so, there's a lot of trials and tribulation, I'd say, when you say, what was it like to be in my shoes? There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of anxiety. I would actually, I don't think I've actually shared this, but I actually would wake up in the middle of the night screaming. I would sleepwalk. I would have night terrors, and all those things. So there was just a lot of fear, trepidation, just during that period of time between really my entire, for the most part, my entire childhood.
Wow. A lot of what you says resonates with me. The hardworking mom part, definitely. My mom was a cleaning lady and always working. And then she became an entrepreneur, like selling Tupperwares, and she built an empire. So she was working her cleaning lady job during the day. And then at night she had she was working, and on the weekends, so she never stopped. But, but anyway, she did provide a very stable, her and my father, very stable environment though. So, but for the rest, I do understand. I know people in that situation. So I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. So can you just share with us the transition from that state that you were as a young boy and as a young man? What changed for you to start you on this journey to become the man you are today?
Good question. I would say that it started with a basketball coach. So one day I'm on campus and a basketball coach approaches me and is like, "Hey kid, I mean, you're 6'5", you should be playing basketball, and I was like, nah, I'm a student. I'm really focused on my education. And he probably went back to his office and looked at my grades and just fell out of his chair laughing because I was not focused on my education at all. I was, disrespecting teachers. I was playing around in class. I was talking in class. I wasn't doing my homework. I wasn't on the right track, but he offered me the opportunity to play basketball, and I wasn't, I thought about it for probably 6 months. And over the summer, my biological dad was like, "You know what? I'll pay you $100 just to try it," or something like that. He I don't know if he ever gave me the $100, but he was like, "I'll give you $100." And I was like, "Well, hey, $100. I mean, now we talking, and I took the opportunity. And the thing about it is that I remember joining the team, and I grew like 4 or 5, 6 inches over the summer, going into my freshman year. And so I was uncoordinated. I was not a very good player. I was a project, right? And I worked really hard, but I wasn't passionate about basketball at that time. And our school was, one of the top schools in the country for basketball. And so I also got destroyed in practice because everyone on the team, we had a guy who went to the NBA at high school. We had several other Division I players. But the thing about the coach, in terms of what he told me, he said, "You could be a Division I athlete." And he said it with so much passion. I didn't even understand what it was, but I knew that it was something more than what I had. And so I took the opportunity to play basketball. And that really was the start for me to really turn my life around because it gave me something to lose. It was the first time in my life that someone stepped into my life and actually told me that I had the potential to do something great or something positive or something that could change the trajectory of my life, which I think speaks to the situation many young Black men are in today, is that they rarely often have somebody step into their life and say, "Hey, you have potential, you have purpose, you have a gift and you could do something great with your life. And so since that was the first time I really heard that, I took that opportunity, and that was the change. That was something. It gave me something to fight for, even though I had plenty to fight for prior to that. You know, even though I already had a single mom who was trying to figure things out, even though I had plenty of reasons to pursue my education with the right effort and the right energy, basketball was the thing that really gave me something. I felt something to lose and something to fight for.
Wow. Yes. The moment that we have something, because there's no point in life if you don't have something to look forward to, there's just no point, honestly. So I'm really glad that you had that basketball saved you, and that coach that believed in you saved you. And about that coach, actually, is that the coach you were talking about in that post that we had the exchange about? You have to tell us that story. I'm sorry, you got to tell us that story.
And I will point to, there's probably 50 people in my life that I could point to where I've learned something where they were a catalyst to a change in my life. And so the coach was, Coach Von Webb was the person that opened the door to the opportunity. But then my Aunt Frankie and my Uncle Chuck paid for my first basketball camp in Santa Clara, took me there. Coach Von Webb put me on a AAU team the summer going into my junior year, and Coach Anthony, who was the coach of that AAU team, it was called the San Diego Alley Cats. I'm from Fresno, California, so I'd catch the train and the bus down to San Diego to get on that team. Well, on my first trip down there, I was going down there to practice and meet the team and everything. The coach picks me up from the train station, takes me to his house. It's San Diego. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful condo or whatnot. Walks me in the house and says, all right, so there's Hot Pockets in the freezer. Here's the television, here's the remote to the TV. Here's a little ESPN if you want to watch some TV. I got some things to do. I'm going to go run some errands. I'll be back at 6 o'clock. And it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm sitting in his living room and I can't believe it, right? I'm like, this dude left me at his house. He and I just met for the first time. Don't he know? Don't he know that I'm the kid that, had a 1.3 GPA, that stole a bike at broad daylight out of a convenience store with my cousin, who, has this reputation, like I could steal in here, and the voice in my head was so loud that I couldn't even pay attention to what was on the TV, because I was like, wow, like this is amazing. This person totally trusts me. And for the first time, that was also a shift. It was like, wow. It gave me an opportunity gave me a second chance to turn over a new leaf, to be the kind of person that you could leave at your house and not worry about something coming up missing. Like that was a shift in my identity at that point where it was like, no, I am trustworthy, as it relates to being someone who could, I've gotten in trouble before, like playing with matches in the garage at home, and my stepdad, disciplined me for that, because I just wasn't the kind of person that you want to leave at the house, because I get into stuff. And so that opportunity that Coach Anthony gave me was like really an opportunity to turn over a new leaf and be a different person. And so I would say that the ability for us to change, or the greatness within us, is bound up in someone else being able to see that within us and give us the opportunity to express it, right? And so that was the story that I shared on Facebook about, just what that experience was, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity or that identity shift if it hadn't been for, obviously, Coach Von Webb, like, in that position, and my Aunt Frankie and everyone around me supporting this effort in pursuing basketball. And then Coach Anthony put me in that position, even though he didn't even know I'm about to change this kid's life. I'm about to leave him at my house by himself, but he did. He played a part in that, even though he probably doesn't even know to this day that it changed my identity.
Absolutely, Keith. And this also goes to remind us that, and sometimes a little act of kindness, sometimes those are people that were in your life, and I'm sure even people that you did not even know and that you never saw again impacted you and were catalysts too, right? But sometimes just a simple smile, we don't know what people are dealing with. Often we live in an unkind world, but just a smile, just a positive word of affirmation, or anything, just an encouraging word, so showing support to people. You don't know, we never know what people are dealing with right now. So thank you, such a good reminder that it is important for us to try to reach within us to try to spread love and positivity in the world, because it does change lives. It changes lives, whether we're talking with a child, a teenager, or an adult, or an elderly person even. It's really, really important. So thank you for sharing that. It's a beautiful story.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Can you share with us how your storytelling journey began, and what stories mean to you, Keith?
Yeah, well, in terms of the storytelling component, I think that from a very early age, obviously we learn stories. We hear, from a spiritual perspective, my favorite story in the Bible is the story of Joseph, right? Like Joseph goes to his brothers and says, my staff, in my dream and all this, and yours is going to bow down to mine. And they're like, okay, we got to deal with you. So they sell him off into slavery. He ends up in this situation where, the Pharaoh's wife is coming after him. He gets thrown in prison. He's interpreting dreams. Then he comes back, and he ends up in this situation where he's interpreting dreams, and then he's helping the Pharaoh, and then he becomes the second in command, and then his brothers and his family and his dad and everybody goes through this famine and all this situation, and then they need him in the future, and then they meet him in the future, and then he's like, you guys meant this for tragedy, but it was meant for triumph.
Amen. Sorry, I have to. Yes. Go on. Sorry, as you were.
Yeah. And that is like, to me, what that, like, Joseph had the breakthrough mentality, right? He had the mentality that, like, I'm going to stay committed to what I know is good within my heart and what my values are. I'm going to stay committed and loyal to my values. Stay committed to your loyalty and your values, then everything that is done can be converted into triumph. Like it converts it into triumph. And in fact, you're not, I shared this the other day, you didn't make it this far in spite, like, you're not powerful because, in spite of what you went through, you're powerful because of what you went through, right? And so storytelling to me has been really important because, I obviously played in high school. I ended up getting a Division I scholarship. Everything that coach spoke over to me happened. I went on to play, Division I basketball. I didn't have the career that I wanted to have in college, largely because of the fear of, potentially leaving, because it wasn't really the right situation for me as a player. But, I got done, and then I had 17 jobs in 11 years after that. And so trying to figure out life, the difficulty, the adversity that I faced in the next 11 years after graduating college, it was all about stories. It was me listening to other people's stories of tragedy to triumph that allowed me to stay in the game, that allowed me to keep the flicker of hope inside of my heart on so that I can continue to move forward. And so storytelling for me has always been about consumption up until a certain point, until a mentor actually that I was having a conversation with, because up until maybe a handful of years ago, up until a few years ago, I felt like I didn't have a story to tell, right? I felt like, raised by a single mom, I've been, raised in this environment around drugs and alcohol, right? And then I had I made it to Division I, but I didn't make it to the NBA. I didn't make it to the league. I didn't make it to overseas necessarily. So I didn't have an amazing career from that, and average 30 or nothing like that. And then I had all these jobs where I've been, 17 jobs in 11 years is basically average 6 to 8 months per job. It's like, I'm not successful, right? Even though someone else might look at it and be like, wow, kid, like, you come really far. I'm like, man, I don't have any retirement. I got a negative bank account. Like, I don't have a story to tell, right? And a few years ago, I was in prison as it relates to this, because my desire is to help people, right? And the story and the narrative of today is that if you don't have money, you don't have any way to help people. Well, I was talking on the phone with a mentor, And I was like, I really want to help people. That's what's on my heart. That's what I want to do. But I don't have my own stuff together yet. I don't have my money right. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not successful. I'm not a business owner. I haven't hit my goals. And he said, you don't need any money to help anybody. You just need to be committed to helping people, to help people. I was like, wow. And as I thought back on that, I was like, wow, he's right. The coach who left me at his house, who changed my identity by giving me the opportunity, it wasn't money necessarily that allowed him to make an impact on my life. My basketball coach, he had an opportunity, but it wasn't necessarily, he wasn't multi-millionaire to be able to have the credibility to help a young at-risk kid change his life, right? And so that freed me from prison from a perspective of like, no, you can tell a story. You may not be able to tell the story of like financial excellence or anything like that, but you can tell a story of what it was like to come through the journey that you went through and how you overcome and how you got out of the bad behaviors and how you continue to move forward and improve your life regardless of your circumstances. And so up until a few years ago, I didn't feel like I had a story. But then once my mentor told me, hey, look, you don't need money to help people, then that really gave me the permission to fulfill a responsibility that I feel like I have, which is to actually just share stories and tell stories that, things that I was struggling with, things that, when I felt like I didn't want to live anymore, I felt like I couldn't figure it out. 17 jobs in 11 years. It's very easy to feel like, man, you tried everything, And what I found was that I hadn't really tried everything. And so once I started to truly embrace what it is that I feel like I came to do on earth, then I feel like I had a responsibility to share my story, because I know that there's millions of other kids and people out there who don't feel worthy like I did.
And this is why I'm very happy you came today, because it's so it shocks me every time when I talk to people like, oh yeah, there's nothing going on. I don't have a story to tell. We all have a story to tell. And I'm reading a book actually called Story Worthy. Anyway, I'll put the details in the description. And it's fascinating because there's a story. Sometimes people think that you need to go to the mountain, trip over a rock, break your arm, and then crawl back out to have a story to tell. But no, the stories are in the little moments that happen every day. Like I'm telling you, if you look back in your life, like I started like keeping a kind of journal of things every day. And that's how you start, you fine tune your brain into identifying story-worthy moments, because they happen all the time. So this is why it's so important. That's why I'm so passionate about Toastmasters and storytelling, because it gives us the tools we need to share our story, because everybody has a story. And this is exactly why I invite people like you, people that fascinate me and that I really admire, and I see what you do and I find like, you know what? And then I see, he has a really good story and it could touch somebody else. So this is the power of finding our voice and using it. So thank you for making it very clear for the world.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us how a little boy with problematic behaviors from the streets of Fresno, California, wound up founding so many different businesses? Like how does that get started?
Well, when I did my personality test, it said I have a weakness for taking on too many projects at once.
Really?
So
nah, you don't. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah. Once one of the challenges that you'll have once you find out that you are, that you can do things, is that you may try too many things. But the reality is that when I went back through and I started really analyzing my story, in terms of like actually journaling and looking through the different aspects of my story, there were 3 different, I would say, sometimes people call them avatars or people that you want to serve or things like that. I started thinking about, there was 3 different stages of me as an individual that I cared deeply about helping. And one of them is as an at-risk kid. So as an at-risk kid, I started doing some talks at, middle schools and things like that when friends would invite me in, because, at 6th grade, like that's when I was at my most volatile, vulnerable stage of my life. Because, I remember just going back and looking at some of the things that happened in junior high, where I'd be left at home for, days at a time, not knowing where my dad was. and I had to persevere through that. And I still go to school, I still wake up and do what I needed to do. But when you look at the things that I'm up to in terms of Catalyst and trying to help athletes, or Pay Suite and how I'm helping entrepreneurs, or just speaking and storytelling in general and how that can help kids that grew up with the similar background that I grew up with, it's all very connected and integrated to my personal story. As a at-risk kid, I went through that story. As a athlete, I went through the story of trying to figure out what am I going to do and who am I now that the jersey has come off, now that my career is over. So I wanted to build something or do something that would allow me to help the next athlete that I come across that's going through the situation, the 17 jobs in 11 years that I went through, or being recruited by companies because I am an athlete and because I do work hard, and you're just looking for an opportunity to take advantage of my hard work ethic instead of giving me ownership. So I wanted to do something to serve that community. And then also as an entrepreneur, when I look at why I do what I do with the payment services and things like that, I'm actually not passionate about the payment services. I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs, because when I was an at-risk kid, growing up on the streets of Fresno, California, the people that hired my dad built houses. And so the people that hired my dad to build homes for them, or to remodel their rentals or anything like that, they were people who obviously had additional resources, and they were most often entrepreneurs. And so I look at my work as an entrepreneur in terms of helping other entrepreneurs as a way to look after them in areas that they are vulnerable, because when I was vulnerable, they looked after me. They would pay me $5, $10, $15, $20 to paint the fence while my dad was framing a house. And so those are the people that I looked up to as a young kid. And so how is really around me paying attention to the things that, I'm passionate about, and the things that move me, that, all encompassing become what I would consider to be my purpose, and that's paying attention to the communities that I am a part of, and I'll always be a part of, and being a catalyst to kind of, take the torch and now be the kind of person that I needed in certain points of my life, and that I actually found at points in my life.
Wow. And well, there's one thing with you saying it, but I actually did research before obviously inviting you here, and there are a lot of really amazed clients or people that you serve that like rave about you, and I think that you were like a godsend or something. So clearly your love and your care shows, because it always came back that you were hardworking, that you were really caring and attentive. So really keep doing what you're doing, Keith. It's helping a lot of people.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to share something else about that, because obviously with the Great Resignation and all of the things that we're hearing on the news about people not going to work and not wanting to work, I want to speak to just the importance of understanding, like, and unpacking your story, because the work that I do in the payment services, I did for a major company, and I didn't like it, right? I left it because I just wasn't happy. I think it's important to go through and really understand who you are as a person, and figure out like what what are the things that light you up and fire you up, and the mission that you want to fight for. Because prior to starting these companies, like I thought that it was out there. I thought that the purpose was out there, that I would find something that would align with my purpose, and purpose is within, and once I really started to figure out like what are the things that actually are important to me, and how do they apply to the world outside of me, I think once a person does that, then you're able to find that happiness and that purpose, and then you can obviously speak from a position from authority and authenticity, because you're living from your values instead of trying to pursue things that make sense on paper or make sense because of the current economic situation that we're in, or but I just think that that's really important, and I just want to share that I want the young black men that are out there, or whatever situation, they don't have to be young black men, they be anybody, but if you're not happy right now, it's not because of what's out there, it's because of what's within. And if you unpack and really start to evaluate what's within and what's bothering you, or and the things that you really want to fight for, then I think you'll find the happiness and the purpose that you're looking for. And then you can go out there and do whatever you want to do that aligns with that.
Absolutely. Yes. But the thing is, sometimes they want to get out, Keith, but they just don't know how.
Yeah.
Like they need help. So this is why they need the tools.
Yeah.
And like there's so many resources, and even free resources or affordable resources when they just look. And you know the beautiful thing now in 2021, almost 2022, there's this thing called the internet.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. You just like go on Google and you just type whatever you want. And there's everything. Like you can literally go, even Ramona Smith is in one of my other interviews, she was saying, Google University. You don't even have to be able to afford to go to college. Like everything, you can find out how to tie, how to fix up a tie, how to change a toilet drain. Like there's everything on YouTube. But but definitely there are resources. So they really have to be, when they can be in contact with somebody or a catalyst or anybody that shows an act of kindness. It's also just trying to giving them just like a little push, like a little bit of help in the right direction. And then sometimes just things go from there. So absolutely, I agree with you. But sometimes but how? Go find out how. Unless if you're happy with your situation, don't change anything. It's fine. But even if it's good, maybe it could be a little bit better, right? So that's all. But thank you for adding this.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, you host your own podcast called Real Talk. What made you decide to start that adventure? And what is it that you want to accomplish with your podcast?
Yeah, so, I run a couple podcasts. So I have one for entrepreneurs, athletes, and then this one with Real Talk is more really focused on people that have overcome adversity, right? And the reason why I wanted to do something that's focused on that, because that's very central to just who I am as a person, right? And I feel like it's needed, right? Like, so before I decided to venture out and start a business or anything of that nature, I first had to believe it. And there's all these barriers that people have before they're ready to actually commit, right? And so I wanted to have a platform where we can talk about it, where we can talk about the issues that often keep us from pursuing the things that we're here to do. I was talking with a friend the other day, and this is the most common statement that I hear from people, regardless of how much money they make, what their background is, which to me means that we all come from the same place, because it's not embedded in any of our curriculum. When I asked her what does she want to do, or like what is missing from what she's currently doing, she just said, I get the most satisfaction from doing something for a customer and having them come back amazed. I just love feeling like I am helping people. And when I ask people what do they want to do, everyone says, I just want to help people, and we weren't taught to say that, right? We just all have that embedded in our DNA, that we are here to help people. But there's all of these barriers that we have, whether we don't believe in ourselves, or someone didn't tell us we're worthy, or we're in an abusive situation, or we're in an unhealthy relationship, or we've never had people speak words of life over us, where we just don't feel worthy. And it shows itself. It shows up in a manifests in a lot of different ways, and it may contribute to people being depressed. It may contribute to people using drugs. It may contribute to people overeating. It may contribute to people doing, violent acts and joining gangs and things of that nature, because we're seeking out this connection. But I wanted to have a show where we could talk about these things and talk about the things that, keep us from living the life that we're designed to live, and also share what people have done to overcome it, and so that's why I started the show Real Talk, because when I was getting kicked out of school, and cursing teachers out and not being allowed on campus, I go sit on the couch next to my grandmother, who I lived with in high school. She's my best friend, and she would just give me the real talk. She would just tell me she didn't She didn't discipline me, even though she did have a nice right hook and an uppercut. I have experienced those. But it was the real talk that she gave me on the couch. She would just say, "Hey, look, here's here's how you should be acting. Here's what you should be doing. Here's there's no value in getting kicked out of school." And it was a real talk that I needed to hear at the time to help me get to the next day. And so if I can provide some inspiration or motivation for people to have hope, to keep keep joy alive or keep the dream alive, then that's really what the Real Talk show is dedicated to.
Yes, I listened to a few of them. Actually, it was pretty phenomenal, I have to say. You have this very peaceful, soothing voice about you. Like, it's very calming. So it's very, very nice. I enjoy your podcast, actually. I'm a new fan of your podcast.
Thank you.
Listen to it, guys. So I guess that's also the reason, that desire that you have to share those stories. It's all the reason why you started that book with other co-authors, for them to share their stories of tragedy transform into triumph. I guess it's all the same concept, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. And part of that is because there's so many people who have overcome, but they're so out of reach, like they're billionaires now, or they're out of reach, I think, in a lot of ways. And because they're out of reach, they can't reach the people that really need it at the stage that they're at. Right. So if you can listen to someone who's in the fight right now, that's overcoming the things that you're trying to deal with right now, then they can help you with where you're at right now. And so, yeah, I think that the tragedy to triumph story is important, because there's so many stories that are out there already, but so many that are so far removed from the people that really need to hear them right now.
Yes. And everybody has access to like Spotify or whatever to listen to a podcast. So I love that you're using this channel to get to those, hopefully, that can hear it. So, and hopefully it can come out also with this interview. And it's also, I agree with what you said, but the thing is, often the information is already out there. Forget Google, okay, the Google University or YouTube University, sorry, she was calling it. But there's also books, like a lot of those billionaires or millionaires, very, very successful people that want to share their journey and their story to also try to encourage people. So there are books, and Amazon delivers books really, really fast. Or, there's also the little local bookstores as well, obviously, libraries. But I'm just saying the information is there when we know where to look. But there is what you know, and there's what you don't know. Like, I know I cannot operate somebody on an operating room, but I also don't know what I don't know. So this is why we need to try to switch it up. If we're always going to eat a coffee or to have a coffee at the same spot, and always hanging with the same people and always watching the same shows, you can't expand out of your current circumstances. And again, not that there's anything wrong, but sometimes just trying something new, going to a different country, or if at all possible, but if not, just picking up a book and seeing somebody else's perspective, or listening to a podcast or whatever. So absolutely, I'm with you there.
Patricia, I believe that we're one relationship away from a different life.
Yes.
Right. And when I look back, you can see, obviously, I have a lot of books. I've been listening to audio programs and things like that for a very, very, very long time. But it wasn't until I sat across the table from a friend of mine and heard him say things about me that I don't think that he was even doing it intentionally. But it wasn't until I actually heard him say, like, no, you can be great at this. Having someone in your life that can see the greatness within you is much more powerful, I would say, than just, going out there on the web and finding information. Like, all that information has been great, but the key, I think, is to have the information, but also have people that believe in you. Because if you can find that one person that wants to see you win, that's willing to, put gas in their tank, or, call you when you need support and help, then that is a major key, because it's just more tangible, right? If you can call somebody who can say, look, no, kid, you got talent, like, you have it, right? Then that is even more powerful, I think.
Yes. That is, because you know what? It's a combination of all of the above,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
because you need it all. And you know what? I'm going to go even a step further from what you're saying, because I agree with everything you said, obviously. But sometimes you have people that, because I've had that in my life when I feel like I was not happy. I was suffering from depression at certain moments and all kinds of issues. But the point is, I had people, I always have, my family is the best family one. No offense to anybody's family. I have the most, hey, my family is phenomenal. Okay, my aunts, because we have a huge family and they're phenomenal. If I have a problem, I call up anybody and they'll show up. My uncle, hey, Uncle Wolfen, you know, like he helped me. Like I love my family. Don't get me started. This is not the point of this interview. I'll do my own interview. I'll have somebody interview me. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes people believe in you, but you just don't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You could have 100 people believing in you, Keith. If you don't love yourself, if you don't even know, like you don't even think it's worth it, so you reject them. I've rejected people like for decades. Like, I think that about me, but you know what? I'm just not worthy. Like, of course, I did not think, I felt it. I don't think I verbalized it into words, but I'm just saying. So you, again, something for me where things change is when I stop. Because sometimes also humans that love you, that support you, they disappoint you too, because they're humans. We're flawed humans walking the earth. So that's why I'm so happy I found my faith, like in my spiritual path, or I found my faith and I believe in something greater than myself, greater than any humans. And that's the kind of love. And that's what I turn to. This is my way of life. And I'm happy I have it, because no matter what happens, whatever tragedy, and trust me, I got plenty of tragedies, but I have something more I can rely on that just never disappoints, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key with that is like understanding like what did he say about you? You know, he said that you'd be able to do great things just like he did great things, right? And so I think if he can believe in you, then I mean you should believe in you, right? So yes.
It is better to have people that believe in you than people that drag you down, right? Like you really have to step away from anybody that brings us down, you know, and that doesn't add value in the sense that, or they're just not contributing anything, or they're just really hurting you, basically. Like we need to create boundaries for that. But anyhow, that's a topic for another day. Okay, Keith, we're coming to the end. I just want to have 2 more questions for you. If you can talk to a young, let's say right now there's a little boy looking at you, okay, or a young man or a young teenager, okay? If you can talk to them right now, you have the mic, and they keep getting in trouble and they feel trapped in a cycle of failure after failure. Like no matter what they try, like it just doesn't work. What advice would you like to share with that person if he wants to find a way out?
The first thing I would say is, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for trying to change your life, right? And I would say that you need to find a role model, someone that is living the way that you want to live, or that is further ahead in life than you are, that is living the kind of life that you want to live in the way that you want to live it. Even though you may not know exactly everything that you need to know about like how you actually want to live, you know that you want to be doing better than what you're doing right now, right? Because the behaviors that, you know, get you kicked out of school or don't further your education, they don't end up anywhere good. So I would say find someone that's living the way that you want to live and pursue them, and commit to something. Commit to something good. Commit to something that can have a positive impact for you, even if it's not something you're passionate about, right? Like at the time in you know, high school when I started playing basketball, I was not passionate about basketball. I remember running sprints and confused, like, why am I here? I don't even know what a Division I scholarship, I don't even know what it is, right? But I committed to it because it was a path that I could take that could get me further, it could get me out of the situation that I was in. And so whether it's music, whether it's education, whether it's science, whether it's math, whether it's literature, find something that you can commit to that can put you in a different position than you're in right now. So I would say, you know, find that mentor and then commit to something. Commit to something that has a positive outcome. Because even though it may not be something that you can see doing 50 years from now, or something that you want to be completely passionate about, you can take those skills once you pursue that, and you can transfer them into something else. And along the way, you will meet people that will open doors for you, that will allow you to have the life that you want to have, regardless of where you start from. Because I start from where you start from. You know what I mean? Like, I've been there where I've had to wash my clothes in the bathtub. I've had to eat at the homeless shelter with my dad. I've been at the drug house at 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting in the car for my pops to come out. Or I've been inside, of those places. And so I come from where you come from. And the only reason why I'm here today is because I never stopped trying. I found people that I could pursue that were living the way that I wanted to live, and I just found them, and I wouldn't let them go. And I committed to things that I wasn't necessarily passionate about, so I could develop the skills and the relationships and the opportunities that would allow me to change my life. And so that's the advice that I would give to a young black male, but I would also to pretty much to anybody that isn't where they want to be.
Absolutely. Wow. I just felt like I just got it preaching, but it was.
Hallelujah.
It was so good. Like well received. Thank you so much, Keith. I noticed actually there's a sentence on your cap right now, believe, and I think it says, "You can if you think you can."
Yes.
So my one of my final questions to you is, do you have a clone that helps you accomplish all those life missions that you're doing? Like, but seriously, like, as a human struggling myself with a lot of projects, I would love to hear what your daily practices are, to keep your mental sanity, to get your mindset right, and finally to accomplish all the things that you have to do on a daily basis within 24 hours that I suspect you have as well.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we struggle with is we struggle with the concept of balance, right? And I'm not perfect at it at all in terms of my daily routine. I'd say probably over the past, several months, I've been kind of out of whack a little bit, just because some of the projects that I've taken on have kind of taken me kind of off balance in terms of out of my routine. But in terms of what I do on a daily basis, it's pretty simple. Every day I try to read. Every day I try to listen to something. Every day I try to reach out to somebody and, nurture someone in my network. Every day I try to pursue new opportunities in terms of new clients. And that's really it. Like, every day I try to exercise, walk, stretch, do something physical. Every day I take my vitamins. Like, those are things that I do on a daily basis. So that, I actually have a tracking sheet that I use. I haven't used it in a few months, which is probably why I'm off track. But, I'm getting back on track in the new year and doing things the right way. But that's really what, several years ago when I started my business, I had to sit down and figure out what are the things I was going to do on a daily basis that would guarantee me success, right? And recognizing that there's going to be times where you're going to be out of balance, but that's what it takes sometimes, right? It takes a tremendous amount of energy to shift your life into another direction. So balance doesn't exist. Let's just get that out of the way. But there are things that you need to focus on a daily basis to make sure that you can guarantee yourself success. So first and foremost, you need to determine, what does success look like to you? Because for a decade, I looked at what people on television, what my sales manager, what I heard on the audiobook, determine what success looked like for me. And I never actually sat down and determined, like, okay, what does success actually look like for me? So once I figured out what that looked like, then what I did is I determined, okay, so what do I need to do on a daily basis so I can guarantee myself success? Because we often look at what we need to do as this huge thing, so we don't do it because we get overwhelmed, and if we don't believe in ourselves, forget about it, because we don't believe we can achieve great things to begin with. So we just automatically decide that, you know what, I'm never gonna have it. But how do you eat an elephant? If you do, you don't eat an elephant, but I don't. But there's a saying that says you eat one elephant, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? And for me, it's pizza or hamburgers. But it's like, what can I do on a daily basis to guarantee myself success? Every day I can read for 15 minutes. Every day I can listen to an audiobook. Every day I can reach out to somebody and say, hi, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I appreciate you. Every day I can take my vitamins. Every day I can walk and exercise and do something active. So if I stack that up on a daily basis, then in 30 days, like I made a tremendous amount of progress. I've talked to anywhere from 30 to 150 people to nurture my network. And so you imagine 6 months in, you've talked to thousands of people. You've put in thousands of hours of exercise. You've put in thousands of hours of learning. You are a completely different person 6 months from now than you were. And so in terms of a practice or a ritual, it's trying to keep it really simple and doing positive things on a daily basis that anybody can do. But there's a book called The Slight Edge that I encourage people to go pick up. It's like the things that are easy to do are easy not to do, right? And so if you want to create momentum and you want to guarantee your success, figure out what success looks like, and then reverse engineer it into things that you need to do on a daily basis to help you get there, because it really is achievable, but it just starts with those daily little things that are easy not to do that will determine where you'll be later on in life when you can no longer do anything about it.
Yes, 100% yes to everything you just said. And again, it's not about being perfect, because we cannot always be consistent, but it's interesting in the book, actually, I was telling you about before, the power of self-discipline, no excuses, because I'm a very disorganized person, just very briefly, and by nature, I'm very disorganized. But the thing is, the power and my life completely shifted after I read that book. There were a lot of moments for me that changed things around for my life, but that book, chapter 4 particularly, but essentially the thing that really struck me is that discipline is doing what you need to do when you need to do it, whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, Brian Tracy.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
But there's a way, because I'm so structured now because I don't have a choice, because I'm so disorganized. So I have like my agenda, and I have my phone agenda, I have my physical agenda, I have journals for everything. So it's important, because we need to, those are the tools that help us in our current situations if we want to grow and become better at what we're doing, at what we want to do, where we want to go.
I agree. And I think I heard someone talk about character, and character is doing the things you said you were going to do long after, in which the feeling in which you made those commitments is long gone. Like long after the hype of the moment, you've gone to the seminar, you're fired up, you're pumped up, and now, 6 months from now, you're still going to be excited. And so character is doing those things long after, doing things you committed to long after the feeling's gone, right? And doing them is what actually brings us power. When we actually keep our own promises and we actually follow through on what we said we were going to do, instead of holding on to the baggage of what other people wouldn't do, or the lies that, or the feelings or the emotions we didn't get as a kid, or the childhood we had, we start keeping our own commitments to ourselves, then we actually get the power to actually, move forward and do something with life.
Yes. Yes, sir. Okay. Do tell us, what is the next step for Keith Sconiers? I hope it's not another project. I'm just kidding. What's next for you, Keith?
Yeah, for me, the next thing is to continue to just move closer and closer into doing the things that I want to do on a daily basis, right? Which is being a catalyst for other people, being an entrepreneur and running my business and things like that, being a storyteller and doing more speaking, but also just, being a catalyst for other people. Is helping other people, believe in themselves and build a roadmap into like who they want to be, whether that be working with me on, within one of my companies, or helping them start their own business. And so that's really the journey that I've been on to not only continue to grow my businesses, but to help other people win and be a part of helping other people win. So that's all I want to do with my life, is to, carry the torch for the people that were, you know, like I said, there's 40 to 50 people in my journey and my story that I can point to that said, wow, man, like you actually helped me, you know, you helped me with this. And I just want to do that for other people now.
Yes, that sounds like a lovely plan. And I
Yeah.
wish you the best of luck and everything that you need to accomplish just that. And you're doing amazing anyhow, but if you can do even more, like, oh, all the power to you.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. You too.
So to wrap it up, thank you so much for staying with us. We had a lot to talk about, so thank you for sticking around with us.
Yep.
Essentially, what I'm getting out of all of this is that Keith's greatest life lesson is don't let your circumstances dictate the outcomes that you reach for. And you can do anything regardless of the cards that you were dealt. And any parting words before we leave, Keith?
You know, I think I'm speechless. You know, I'm so fortunate to have had an opportunity to connect with you, and I just appreciate everything that you're doing to, you know, make an impact on people. You know, I think that if your listeners can follow your journey and just pay attention to what you're doing and the steps that you're taking to improve yourself so that you can help other people share their story, I think that's you know, that's really the only thing that I wanted to say is that I just really appreciate you for bringing me on. I appreciate everything that you represent and the courage that you have to step out and just help other people tell their story. So thank you.
That's so sweet. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with your voice. It's been such a pleasure. Really, I feel blessed. So thank you. And my YouTube friend at home, thank you for watching. I hope you are feeling as enlightened as I am. And I will leave you with this. The power of your voice can change the world. Find it and use it. Until next time. Bye.